We are now this close to the release of the Switch 2, and it has me feeling extremely nostalgic for its predecessor and all of its best moments leading to this point. I wanted to take a moment here to just kind of talk about what made the first one so special and my journey with it. I've always been an avid fan of video games of all kinds. When I was a kid, I played a lot more of the colorful mascot platformers or party games. In my teenage years, it was a lot of Minecraft. And as an adult, I got really into JRPGs and even recently roguelites, and still a mix of everything that came before. My adoration for the medium of gaming has only risen with time, but my capability to engage with it only drops. I know this isn't an issue that's unique to myself, but it is a big part of why I wanted to talk about it. The average plight of the adult gamer is that of someone who works to live, lives to work, and has a backlog that could fill a lifetime. Too many good games, never the time to play them. It can be a huge bummer sometimes, but in that battle, I have found my greatest weapon has got to be the PlayStation No, but really, the Nintendo Switch is awesome, man. There are so many videos on the internet talking about the Switch, and so many content creators who've earned their place in the YouTube community because of that. You probably already know this, but none of those videos were made by me, and I just want to talk about the Switch. The Switch 2 will be coming out this year, so I want to talk about what made the first one my favorite console, what made it my favorite gaming device, and honestly, just my favorite thing. I love the Nintendo Switch. For some context, between the ages of 12 and 17, I pretty much just played Minecraft. It was an obsession that I developed starting with Minecraft survival games when I was a lot younger and playing with friends I met through TeamSpeak. And the only other games I really played in that time would be some multiplayer games that the friends I made through Minecraft wanted me to try, or occasionally I'd hit up my old vices like Sonic or NCAA football. Shut up, a guy can like two different things. But for the most part, I was just juicing my Minecraft playtime. If it was possible to check playtime numbers for that game, I promise you I would not tell you the real number out of shame. Anyway, in my senior year of high school, I got a 2DS after downloading a Game Boy emulator on my phone and playing Pokemon Light Sapphire, and I had a pretty good time with it, so I wanted to play some of the Pokemon games I'd missed out on. I picked up a red 2DS with Pokemon Sun, X, and Alpha Sapphire. Those games ended up bringing me all the way back into Nintendo, a love I did not think I'd ever fully rekindle. The 3DS generation of Pokemon was one that hit all the right notes for me. Tons of Pokemon I really like, 3D models and environments for the first time, and Clef Key. Just a ton of great stuff. So when I heard about the new Nintendo system coming out, I was fiending for it pretty hard. I got the Switch as a birthday gift around launch with Breath of the Wild. I didn't really use it much at all at the time because I was never much into Zelda and it just didn't click with me for the longest time. So that first year, I just didn't get a ton of use out of it. I was, however, one of the people that went to the midnight launch for Mario Odyssey and played it day one. And oh man. Side note, Assassin's Creed Odyssey launched the same night, and the line at the store was way more for people lining up for that game than Mario, which my little fanboy ass was ready to throw hands over. Mario Odyssey was the first in a long line of Nintendo Switch games that absolutely blew my mind. That game is fun incarnate, and I cannot possibly get enough out of it. It has some of my favorite moments in the Mario series, and honestly in media in general. I will never forget the dragon boss fight and the total freak out I had the first time I fought it.
We're going into Bowser's Kingdom, and is he on a fucking dragon? I have a rough idea of what's about to happen. Oh, that's not what I expected! Holy shit! Ah! Okay, dragon. Okay. What?
I will never forget the pure adrenaline rush from playing as Bowser in the game's finale, and I will never stop replaying the game because they made so many different captures, and they are all good! And that's without even talking about the game's movement and the... I did skip over a Switch game I put serious time into before Odyssey, being Sonic Mania. That game doesn't feel like a game I should credit to the Switch, but it was the first Switch game that I played a lot and really loved. Sonic Mania is another game that has the same effect on me as Odyssey, where it just tickled all of my happy bones. Not going to spend too much time on that one right now, but I do want to talk a bit more about it later when it's more relevant to my time with the Switch. If we skip forward a bit, the second year of the Switch was the one where it really grabbed me. This was around the time I started working my first job and was running more into those time troubles I'd mentioned earlier. It didn't feel like such a big deal then because I wasn't used to working, and, I was still part-time, which left me with a comfortable amount of time to still, play video games and enjoy myself. During that second year, though, Smash Bros. Ultimate was announced pretty early in the year, followed by 9 months of my favorite marketing campaign ever done. Smash Bros. Hype trailers became a spectacle in the Wii U era, but I didn't care about those, so I didn't know that. This time, I was reading every Twitter thread, every Reddit leak, hunting down everyone's uncle who works at Nintendo. I distinctly remember being at work and hiding my phone for the direct King K. Rool was revealed in with one earbud in, absolutely popping off, and then looking up to realize someone had watched my entire reaction with a confused look. That Gangplank Galleon remix, by the way, holy shit on a stick. By the time the game actually came out, I'd been promoted to full-time. You'd think this would be an issue, but this was when I realized the Switch's greatest strength. Smash Bros on work breaks, oh yeah! Smash Bros on the bus, oh yeah! Smash Bros at home in bed when I could play on the TV, but I was kind of depressed as a young adult, so I stayed in bed a lot, oh yeah! Oh, also Picross on work breaks. Oh yeah. Point is, this is the time the Switch started to become something I had on me at all times, and I was fiending to pop out at any moment. World of Light was not going to play itself, you see. The Switch made the horrors of realizing corporate America will steal every moment of your time in exchange for pennies on the dime not so bad. That's actually something that still remains true to this day. Blatro on work breaks, oh yeah! Even though those small pockets of time in between work are just a small part of the day, they make it so much better with the Switch. It makes it so much easier to deal with the days that are otherwise a huge pain because now I can enjoy the games I've been wanting to play without feeling guilty about it because I'm at work. I'm doing all I can with my life right now. I'm at work, I have to take this break, so why not grind out a session of Persona 4? Now, moving on to year 3 of the Switch, this was a big year in my personal life. It was really difficult for me personally for some reasons I won't get into, and one I will because I think it does really help me explain why I love the Switch so much. Around summer of that year, I was homeless for a few months. It wasn't the worst experience of my life, but it was a pretty stressful time. Right before I was homeless, I realized, that was going to happen and that I'd have a lot more time that I'd probably want a handheld device to use. So a new model of the Switch with a better battery life had just been revealed and released, so I traded my old one in for that one, and it was actually a pretty good deal. Turned out to be pretty cheap. I also wanted to find a game I could fill my time with, and some friends of mine had been talking to me about Fire Emblem, 3 Houses specifically. So I figured, sure, why not? I'd always hated RPGs before, save for Pokemon, but I was older now, people's tastes change, and the year earlier I'd, given Kingdom Hearts a try, and well, that's not the most RPG. It's an RPG. I remember sleeping in my car that first night, starting the game up, and oh wow, immediately it hit. At a time when I didn't have a home, I found one in the Garreg-Mach Monastery. I immediately adored the cast of characters. Black Eagles, by the way, best choice. The whole game was just so cozy and comforting and made me feel safe when I inherently wasn't. I got so wrapped up in the story and the gameplay. For the first time, a strategy RPG was working for me, a genre I never thought I could care about. Most mornings, I'd start my day at a McDonald's to charge my devices and get breakfast. Then I'd go to a local park each morning and hang out by the lake playing Fire Emblem. To this day, those are some of my favorite gaming memories. Especially the first half of the game was perfect because of the time you just get to spend with characters and level up your relationships at the monastery. It's a good thing the whole game was so peaceful and absolutely never put myself or anyone through emotional turmoil. This was when the Switch became my favorite thing. It was no longer just a gaming console, It was my salvation from the stresses of my reality. Tons of different devices have done that for tons of different people, no doubt, but I just think the Switch could do it better than most. It was the first time these big, meaty games were available on a portable platform that didn't cost an obscene amount of money. You could play full-fledged AAA experiences anywhere, something that tons of companies now are trying, and occasionally succeeding, to replicate, with devices like the Steam Deck, the PlayStation Portal, or the ROG Ally. This was huge for me, because at a time when I wanted those big, awesome games to escape to, I wouldn't have had them if not for the Switch. Fire Emblem was a great game to make me realize that, but there would only be more to come. Another big revelation that came at this time was how amazing it was to have a device like that with a lot of my comfort games on it. I didn't talk about Sonic Mania before because it is the perfect example. I grew up on Sonic, I'm a massive Sonic fan, and a playthrough of Sonic Adventure, Sonic 2, or now Sonic Mania just always puts me in a good mood. The Switch gave me the freedom to play one of the best Sonic games ever made, anywhere, at any time. Studiopolis's theme song lives in my head like lobby music for the docent in my mind palace. I may not be the first Sonic fan to talk about how amazing Mania is, but I would like to be the first to say, woo! Over the years, that list of comfort games I could hit up any time on the Switch only grows more and more. Obviously, Animal Crossing is a huge one for so many people, coming out when the world needed some socialization from some cute little animal people things that, go... Mario 3D All-Stars, well overpriced, is a great package that lets me play 3 of the video games that I can go back to over and over again in their best, official releases yet. Even though I played Persona 5 Royal for the first time over the pandemic, the release on Switch also gave me a great opportunity to revisit one of the best video games I've ever played. There's so many more of my favorites I'm grateful that got ported, like Mario 3D Worlds, the Portal 1 and 2, Skyrim, Sonic Generations, and so many others. Games that are comfort food for the soul, best played wherever and whenever you can. And that ability to play wherever and whenever also lends itself really well to huge games with tons to do. Like I said earlier, when the Switch launched, I got Breath of the Wild, but it just didn't click with me. For the first few years of the console's life, though, like everyone else, I was bombarded with propaganda for the game like crazy, insisting that it was a 10 out of 10, a genre-defining masterpiece. It didn't help that some of the strongest propagandists were in my inner circle screaming in my ear that I needed to give the game another try. Hearing over and over from people who've played the game telling me that it was the perfect time waster and one of the most immersive gaming experiences they've had worked on me, and I wanted to experience it for myself. So, sometime, I eventually just said, you're gonna sit down, you're gonna play Breath of the Wild, and you're gonna like it. And I did. And I did. Breath of the Wild is all of those things. It might have been the first game with the Switch where I picked up the habit of literally sleeping with it right next to my bed, and it being the first and last thing I wanted to do every single day to just play a little bit more. The gameplay loop in that game is unbelievably addicting, and the world is so ridiculously beautiful. So many people talk about how the Switch is this underpowered, scrappy little device that can barely run most games. But hot damn! Go take a look off the edge of Death Mountain or the peak of Rito Village and just take it all in. Pan the camera around, just breathe, just relax for a second. You're gonna see a gorgeous world you're so happy to be in. One that you will be itching to get back to the second you leave it. And I was. I went on vacation during that time and played it on my flight, on the vacation before others weren't awake yet, and after they'd all gone to sleep. The Switch gave developers the power to make their immersive games totally take over your free time, and Breath of the Wild did exactly that. It wasn't the first time that I'd gotten that feeling from a Switch game, but at the time it was probably the best. I think that's another big aspect of why I want to make this video, is that so many games ended up becoming my whole life for the duration of their playtime because of this console. Xenoblade Chronicles, Slay the Spire, Dragon Quest XI, Persona 4 Golden, Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door, and a ton of other games that all took over my life for the time that I was playing them because the Switch gave them the power to do so. I can distinctly remember the periods in my life in which I played those games because each one has like a different little story and a different little moment in a different little place. Dragon Quest XI comes to mind as a fun one. I'd recently found a nice spot outside my neighborhood to hide out in, so I'd take my Switch and my dog and we'd just go and hang out. He would be rolling around in the dirt or grabbing a stick for me to throw him, and in between fetches I'd be hunting down metal slimes with the crew. I look back at that time really fondly and still get to do stuff like that now. Just the other day, I got my first Anti-13 Balatro run, and I was getting excited, so I was like pacing around my apartment with my Switch in hand, and my dog was following me, wondering like what I was all psyched up about. I wish I could have explained to him that I had just gotten 3 legendary jokers and a blue-printed sock and buskin, but half of you don't know what that means, so he probably wouldn't either. I just totally adore how the Switch lets me play wherever I want, something that my cannot sit still ass really benefits from. As a teenager, I felt trapped in my room all the time because the only place I really felt comfortable was playing video games on my computer. Well, I'm no longer a teenager, and I'm at least a little more willing to go outside now. Video games are still my safety net when things get a little bit too much for me in life. I'm really appreciative of a device that lets me go anywhere with that safety net. Sure, like any antisocial child, I had gaming handhelds that did that for me when I was younger too, but those games aren't the same. I love the Game Boy Advance or DS as much as the next guy, but there weren't enough games on there that could suck you in like on the Switch. You'll find me dead in the cold hard ground before I say a single bad word about Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon for the Nintendo 3DS family of systems. But not every game can beat Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon for the Nintendo 3DS family of systems. The Switch, on the other hand, is home to so many certified bangers. I mean, for all the games I talked about today, there's still so many I didn't. Although it had some of my least favorite Pokemon games in Sword and Shield or Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, it also had some of my favorites with Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet. Games that showcase exactly what I mean about the Switch's ability to have these big, awesome worlds that make you just want to disappear into the screen. For the first time, my favorite fictional world had so much more to do, so much interactability, and so much interesting to explore, and just felt so alive. Sure, they were rough around the edges, and also not the edges, and everywhere, but they were a really good time nonetheless. I actually went shiny hunting for the first time and spent a lot of time messing around in those games because for the first time in the series' history, they made shiny hunting really easy on Switch. Something I know not all Pokemon fans are the biggest fan of, but I think it's cool. I know that the 3DS came alongside its own set of buffs to shiny hunting as it was, but with shiny Pokemon actually being visible on the Switch, in the open, just spawning in with a little jingle in Legends Arceus, it was way more appealing to do it than ever before. For all their imperfections, Pokemon hit some serious high points this generation. I don't think Pokemon was the only one either. I think you could make a case for a ton of series that released a game during the Switch generation that they peaked. The best game in their respective series came out in this generation. I would make that case for several of the games I've mentioned before on this list, but one I'd really like to make it for right now is Mario Party Superstars. After years of Nintendo taking the formula that made Mario Party successful and a household staple, and rubbing their asses with it, they finally said, oh shit, what if we made Mario Party good? And then boom, Mario Party was good again. Super Mario Party was definitely a step in the right direction, but it still wasn't exactly my cup of tea yet. Mario Party Superstars, on the other hand, oh, this game. I had convinced myself for the longest time that Mario Party was a series that just wasn't going to be for me again. I'd occasionally play it with friends, have an okay time, then be ready to not touch the games again for however long they didn't come up for, because I just didn't care. Then, that fateful June 2021 Nintendo Direct hit, and I saw a game that I needed shot into my veins ASAP. Boards from the N64 games, only the best mini-games including all my favorites from the GameCube Mario Parties, and gosh dang online multiplayer. Beautiful, magnificent online multiplayer in a mother-loving Mario Party game. I never thought I would see the day. Get that fucking LeBron photo up on screen right now. One, you know, the one where he's like, can't believe this is my life? Slap that shit up, because that is me. That was me. Playing Mario Party online with my friends through the use of official means, not any other ways, was an awesome experience. It's crazy it hadn't happened sooner, but oh, that doesn't take away from how awesome it was that it finally did happen. And now Mario Party Jamboree is out, and somehow it's again hit the nail on the head for the second game in a row. Get the fucking LeBron up again. Put him up, LeBron. That's me. That's my life. I cannot believe this is my life RN. I also somehow went this entire video without mentioning my most played Switch game and another peak of its series, in my personal opinion. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Me and my partner struggle to find games we like playing together, but the Switch did an awesome thing in giving us 2 games that whenever we are together, we are both happy to play in Mario Kart and Mario Party. Also, like every other adult man with a friend group he made in his teenage years, my friends and I always play those games together anytime we get in the same room. The Switch is such a good device for party gaming, having the Mario multiplayer games, tons of other fun and creative games that work great in a social setting. I also really like Mario Kart Online. The VR grind is brutal, but a rewarding grind. By the way, if you were a Waluigi Wiggler player and I saw you in online lobbies before the nerfs, I want you to know you deserved every red shell. Bitty Buggy reigns supreme, fuck your shit. Lastly, I gotta take a minute to talk about the damn indie games in this console. Before this generation, I didn't really play many indies or games at all that I hadn't seen massive appeal for, because I didn't want to take a chance on a smaller game that I hadn't heard as much about. I always viewed indie games as having a ceiling that other games didn't, kind of a cap on how good those games could be. Time and time again on the Switch though, I learned that was stupid and I was dead wrong. Actually, my game of the year in 2022 was an indie game I played for the first time on the Switch, Smooshy Come Home. It's a cute little platformer about a little mushroom fella who got lost and just wants to find his way home. The thing is though, the art style is absolutely perfect. I'd imagine as an indie developer, there's a ton of limitations you have on what you can make, as you're limited to assets you can develop with your limited resources. Smooshy is a game that recognizes that and finds an art style that could be pulled off with those limited resources and manages to look absolutely jaw-dropping. This is another game like Breath of the Wild I'd find myself just hanging out in random parts of the map, panning the camera around, just taking in the view. The game's characters are both adorable and creative in design, and really funny and amicable in the writing as well. I was smiling from start to finish and 100%ed this game within a short time of its release, and I would recommend anyone who's into platformers does the same. I also played Celeste on here, a game that is mechanically genius and pulls on the heartstrings throughout. There's also The Binding of Isaac and Hades, games that made me realize roguelikes are a genre I actually really like and need more of. And also, good old Donut County, a game that I insist every person ever should play immediately. It's like 2 hours of your time that you will thank me for later. Another indie game I play a lot on the Switch is Balatro on Work Breaks. Oh! So yeah, I like the Nintendo Switch. Obviously, I wanted to talk about this in preparation for the Switch 2, a console that I'm sure will blow my socks off all over again. The past 8 years of the Switch have been absolutely awesome for me. This was the console that cemented me as a lifelong gamer and helped me turn what was probably an unhealthy relationship with the medium into a passion that only grows with every day. Something that I share with the people I love. Sure, some of that growth comes from me aging and maturing as a person, but also, Switch good. Switch very good. No one knows yet what lies in the future for Nintendo, but no matter what comes next, I am so happy with what came before. Alright, and that is all for the video. I hope you enjoyed. This is something I've been wanting to make for a while, but that Switch 2 reveal trailer just juiced something inside me. So yeah, if you did like the video, pretty please leave a like, pretty please subscribe, leave a comment, you know. This is a thing where I would love it if y'all shared your experiences with the Switch, because, yeah, I mean, this is something I genuinely really love and would love to hear other people's experiences with the same console. Take it easy.